Hey everyone, Greg here. As you may know by now, I'm the co-founder and CEO of TripShock, an online reseller for water sports and tours. For the past 12 years, we've had the pleasure of working with hundreds of operators across the country, and we're looking to grow our community. It's free to sign up, and you only pay when we bring you confirmed bookings. We'll help you reach new customers, fill empty seats, and grow your business like so many have done with us over the years. Head over to partners.tripshock.com to learn more about our program, read testimonials, or speak directly with our supply team. As always, thank you for listening and enjoy the show.
They come to relax, enjoy the beach, have fun, and spend money. And that's where we come in. This is the Awkward Watersport Guys podcast. Find out tips on the best ways to market and operate a water sports business. If you're a water sports operator, you need to grow your brand, operate more safely, upgrade your operations, and of course, increase bookings. We're industry veterans, broadcasting from Destin, Florida. This is the Awkward Watersport Guys podcast. And this is Kevin O'Neill and Greg Fisher.
Did you see that article about Expedia, how they're closing all their concierge?
Yeah, I did.
We don't talk about news in our shows lately. We haven't brought up the new stuff. And then EasyTix, the reservation system, they went bankrupt.
Yeah. And then held on to all the money too. Man, that's brutal. The way it's made it sound like in the thread that there was the operators were on the hook for the refunds back to the customers.
Yeah, because they didn't have a direct relationship with their processor. It goes through EasyTix.
Yeah,
and I think that's how the other ones work. But I don't know, COVID really woke my eyes up about processing in general and how this works. But to circle back to Expedia, concierge desks were like a big thing, or they are a big thing in Key West. They're not really a big thing here in Northwest Florida and most other locations. I wonder if this is kind of like a signal that maybe this is a dying industry because of online and COVID. People.
What do you mean? Oh, like OTAs?
Concierge.
Oh, concierge.
Concierge desk. Yeah.
Don't tell me that right now, man. Don't say that to me.
We tried doing that at TripShock years ago. One, staffing it was a pain in the ass. But two, when you're only making 20 to 25% of the booking, it's very difficult to be profitable. And speaking of staffing, we're going to be talking about staffing today on the show. We have a really awesome guest, a good friend of mine, a longtime colleague, John Hall from Hall Consulting. I love the whole idea of putting a lot of effort on people because I want to have great work-life balance. I want to have great culture. I want to enjoy coming to work on a Monday at 7 a.m. like most people probably don't. I want that. I want to get done on my weekend and come to work because your work is like your second family. People don't realize you're with your work team probably more than you are with your family. Yeah. So I treat it kind of as a family, and some of the stuff we talked about hit home. Kevin, what are your thoughts?
If you're listening to this and you are an entrepreneur that wants to scale, if you have a water sports company that you want more than just 5 boats and a couple of jet skis, and you want to expand and you want to grow. I mean, these are the kind of conversations that you want to be involved in, because it's not the idea of there's this fancy piece of software that doesn't apply to me that I can't afford right now. And that's fine and well, but you want to think about a future and scaling to a point to where you need something like that, where there are multi levels to your hiring process, and there are levels. You actually have a corporate structured management that, at least I do, and I know for our industry, a lot of people, this is a lifestyle. This is a lifestyle for them. But for some of us, there's a few of us that want to continue that lifestyle. But then to expand that quality and share that message and share your culture and grow your company with the world. I want to have a Destiny Water Adventures in Destin and Fort Walton Beach. I also would like to have a Destiny Water Adventures in Key West. I'd like to have a Destiny Water Adventures in North Carolina. And I would like to be able to share. And to the point, what we kind of got into in this episode a little bit was how do you motivate people? Well, if you want to have good people, there's got to be room for growth. And even if it's seasonal, there's got to be somewhere where they can grow. So if you're going to invest in people, you have to have some type of, there's got to be a carrot at the end of that stick. There has to be something for them to be working toward achieving, rather than just go, oh, well, at the end of my tenure here, I'm going to go get a real job. This industry, in order for it to grow, John was absolutely right. You have to invest in people. And in order for the industry to grow, the individual businesses have to grow, and you have to have some vision. And John really articulated that and highlighted the vision of a lot of entrepreneurs that have been able to grow and have been able to scale. So I found this to be illuminating and obviously just packed with a ton of valuable information. It was awesome.
All right. Well, why don't we get to the interview?
Let's get awkward.
All right. We're here with John Hall with Hall Consulting. John, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Greg. Excited to be here. Thank you.
So, John, I always like to take a few moments to share a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Who I am, what I do. I hate the word consultant, number one. I just can't figure out another word to call myself. So I work with businesses in the area, local. They're small to medium-sized businesses. I help them with all things business. I'll just give you an example because it runs the gamut. So I've got the Golfarium over here in Fort Walton Beach on Okaloosa Island. We're building a $20 million new dolphin habitat, and I'm leading the project for that, building the team, dealing with architects day in and day out, and we start construction in about 9 months. We're in construction documents right now. So that's one hat. Another hat is I've got a soap company called Naples Soap Company who's got 10 bricks and mortar stores, and I run all of their e-commerce for them. So I build the teams and coordinate all of their digital strategies. So that's another hat. We've taken them for 2 years from about $700,000 in sales up to close to $2 million. We'll hit $2.3 million actually this year when we finish out December. For the last 12 years, I've been involved with a restaurant group out of Pensacola, the Great Southern Restaurant Group. They've got the Fish House, they've got Atlas, Jackson's. They've got a new restaurant called Angelina's. We're about a $10 million restaurant group. I help lead business development for them, as well as Golfarium business development for them as well. Took on a new client just about 9 months ago. It's a wholesale jewelry, and we're helping lead up all the e-com for them. And it's all about building teams. So what I do is I create the conditions for great things to happen. It's kind of like a Swiss Army knife. You pull out the blade you need when and then I don't just consult. I roll up my sleeves, I stick with them, and I get my hands dirty, and we're doing the work together. So I hope that makes sense.
Oh yeah, that's Well, John, we have you on the show today because just what you said, you have a lot of experience in people. A lot of the operators that we speak to tell us that hiring, inspiring, just managing in general is a huge burden because we're in a position where we have to hire quick and the jobs don't last very long because it's very seasonal. So we're going to talk today about a myriad of things, but more specifically, hiring seasonal jobs. And we'll go into a lot of different things regarding that. But I think we're really kind of focusing on just hiring seasonal talent, how to find them, how to inspire them, how to keep them, those types of things. So let's dive into it.
It's hard. I mean, that's a tough subject. It really is. And it's a great one. So many people struggle with it. So many business operators struggle with it, especially, we're all in the Panhandle region, and I don't think we're the only ones.
We're the only ones that have to deal with a litany of the Florida man that always show up to apply for the jobs. The Florida man, right? What I'm saying? The crazy Florida guys. I think that especially in this industry, when you're hiring for a seasonal job, I think we're a very special area of the country as far as our the pool of labor. So it's great to have you on the show because I know it's a constant struggle for all of us. So John, why don't you, if you don't mind, before we get into some of the higher level stuff that I'd like to dip into, some of your strategies for us lower level guys, that 5, 6 employees, small business, that are struggling with this. How do we find the gold, man?
I'll start with search. Where are you fishing? There's the low hanging fruit, right? We've got Facebook, and by the way, Facebook works both ways. And if you're not going and looking at your applicants and their Facebook profile pages, I have seen some crazy things. I'm getting ready to, I've interviewed a candidate and everything, and then I'm almost ready to hire them. And then I reverse engineer it and I go look at their profile.
Yeah.
Wow. It had stopped me in my tracks sometimes.
Yeah, it's like blunts and bitches. You're like, well, did you really have that? You didn't even set it to private or something, so I couldn't see that. It's like their header page is them like breaking into somebody's house.
And we'll get into, wrong with you? I know we'll get into interviewing, but I mean, it stopped me in my tracks. I'm about to introduce this person into my team. Are you kidding me? And they told me everything I wanted in the interview. They presented exactly who they thought I wanted to see. And, we don't really see the real person in an interview. We'll talk about, I think,
another thing I find is like a serial applicants. Like I've had people where I've run like multiple ads. I mean, like they either like ghosted me on the showing up for the interview, or we talked and realized it wasn't a good fit. And it's like, and I've had like where I've run, I mean, the same ad verbatim, like 5 times. Mm-hmm. And it's like multiple people have done this where they respond to the ad. And I'm just like, dude, do you not remember that we went through this 5 months ago? You still don't have a job. Like, is this just something you do for kicks? You know what I mean? Like, I just love filling out Facebook applications. It's a hobby of mine.
As you get them all coming in, you see them and you see that name and you go, how do I know that name? And then holy, this is the 4th time this guy has applied. I mean, right. Yeah. Been there.
Yeah.
So the basics, it depends if you're hiring for line employees or management. There's 2 different platforms. If I'm hiring a manager, LinkedIn. I tell you what, there's a little strategy I do with LinkedIn that's helped me out a lot. Is I'll go on LinkedIn and I'll type in, let's say I'm hiring for a restaurant manager or a service manager, so I'll type in service manager, front of the house manager, or something like that, and I'll see anyone within my network that has that job, and I'll type them a quick message and I'll say, hey, we're hiring for this. If you know anybody who might fit this job description, and I'll give a little information about the job, let me know, and I'll make sure they know you recommended them. So what does it do? It not only is going to get them working for you a little bit, but I'll tell you what, about 2 out of every 3 I send that to want to know more about the job for themselves, because they always think the grass is greener. So that kind of hunting, that kind of narrow type for managerial hunting has really worked well for me.
I use LinkedIn for all my management positions, and it's free, and you can find a lot of quality people.
You can, and it's always better to find somebody who's working. We know that, right?
And I want to drop my Facebook hack, and I mentioned in our pre-show, and I think I got this from Tim Ferriss, who's like one of my favorite people out there. But when throwing something out on Facebook, like a real simple reply, to give them a very simple direction on how you want them to contact you or the next step in the job, and if they can't follow that direction, you've already known that you're sort of starting off on the wrong foot. Like if you say contact me via email or give me a call, and they circumvent that process and do something different, then you're kind of like, it's kind of like almost like showing up late for the interview sort of thing.
Absolutely.
So yeah. That's my one hack.
That's a great little trick.
It is. I like it.
Yeah, I love that. Indeed, we're still with kind of managers. Indeed is a great and for the restaurant group, we've got the 4 restaurants. We have a continuous drip on Indeed, and I feed it about $250, every month, and it just continually feeds, and it gives me so many applicants so I can build my bench. Because I never want to get caught without an applicant or without somebody that I'm looking at. So Indeed is a great tool for that. They also have great screening tools that you can actually ask additional questions in addition to their application or their resume. So that continuous drip, Indeed, for type manager and even line employees, Indeed is good for. I mean, for the restaurants, we do a whole gamut of them, from server to dishwasher, and it's amazing. I'll get, I don't know, we're in the Pensacola area. We'll get, with a $250 spend per month, probably 70, 80, 90 applicants, and, a dozen of them are good. So that's great. That helps us keep our bench full.
So, hey, can you go ahead and can you give a definition of line employees for our listeners that don't know that technical jargon?
Hourly.
There you go. Go.
Hourly employees versus your salaried employees. So, yeah, those people.
So like somebody that could be like I don't want to be like rude, but like somebody that's easily replaced or not something that's like, I don't want to say easily replaced, but you know,
entry level.
Entry level,
yeah,
transitional.
Right,
yeah.
Kevin just likes to like to turn and burn him. I can tell.
Hey,
oh man.
Hey, John, what do you think about distribution sites like ZipRecruiter? We subscribed to them a couple of years ago, and we had a lot of success because they reach so many different job sites.
Love it. It's on my list. I use ZipRecruiter. If I don't, and I kind of start with I first start on the low hanging fruit, the LinkedIn's, the Facebook, the Indeeds. And then if I'm not getting what I want, then I'll expand my net a little bit and I'll do the ZipRecruiter. And then sometimes you need something technical though. So a more technical job. So whether you like a marketing person or somebody to do stuff for your website, things like that. So you've got some of these sites out there like Upworks is a fantastic site. It's just like it sounds, Upworks. You could find people to do gig work for you. Yeah. Fiverr. Yeah. Market Hire is another one. And a new one I found, which I haven't tried yet, but I really want to. It's called Superside. These are very technically oriented type, more like a scalpel.
Hey, let me ask you this. Let me ask you this, John, since you mentioned Upwork and Fiverr. Have you ever outsourced any like freelance, like marketing jobs or like SEO or content creation through any of those? I know marketing is one of the hats you wear.
Probably about 8-9 times.
Yeah. Have you had any success with it?
Yeah, great success. I've found two of my really good web designers on there. I've got a WordPress web designer and a guy who's really technical, who can do anything. He's built 2 sites for me. I found him on Upwork. I found a lot. Yeah, I found an SEO guy on Upwork. So that's where I go. I mean, and you can interview them. They've really made it easy.
I'm starting to jump into that pool myself. I've had two separate marketing managers that handle 2 different portions of our marketing, and I've kind of jumped because they're really expensive, but I have some other projects going, so I was just wondering what kind of success you had, because I've been like looking in that pool now, and I'm just like, the last thing I want to do is hire somebody to go. It's like, hey man, I got you 100,000 backlinks last night, and I'm like, wait a minute, what'd you do?
Right.
That's all from porn sites. Like, oh
yes.
no. I learned my SEO in 2004. Shit.
Yeah. So John, we talked about some great sites, and I hope everyone knows that we are going to put the stuff in the show notes, so you don't have to write them down right now and enjoy the rest of the show. But check back in with us after the show. We post it. There'll be there. Everything we talk about will be there for you.
Right. Hey, Greg, last one though. Nextdoor. If you haven't used it, it's that new social site. It's actually doing really well. I've been selling a lot of stuff on it, like old sofas and stuff. So,
what's it called?
Nextdoor.
Oh yeah, no, I know
Nextdoor. It's awesome.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. I mean, they're really doing a great job with it.
Oh
wow.
yeah, that's right. Nextdoor is like, and then they have like even like sub communities in there, like specifically for your like where you specifically live. Yeah, it's super cool.
You can throw the net to the whole city. It's really great.
A lot of great places to find people. I think, we don't realize like there's a lot of good outlets on there that are free too. Why does it matter? Once we did the search and we got our applicants, why does it matter that we invest a lot of time into finding seasonal workers? Because seasonal workers they don't last long. So I guess the mindset is, do we spend a lot of time trying to find the right people?
Yeah, let me ask you this. Why does it matter? Okay. What's the most important decision that you're ever going to make for a business?
I mean, I would say your people.
That's who you bring into your company.
I would say my culture is the most important thing.
Why?
Because I want retention. I want people to stay, and I want to see people do well and increase their professional and personal wealth. Like that's important to me.
This is one of the best quotes that I've ever heard, and it goes directly to your question. And I've carried this with me forever, and it's by Ray Kroc. You know who Ray Kroc is?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, founder of McDonald's. Well,
you are
sort of the founder.
You are only as good as the people you hire.
Well, what's ironic is, and we use these terms in marketing all the time, like attribution, retention, cost of attribution, cost of retention. And to put it in that context of, looking at your employees the same way, like there is a huge cost. And I don't think most business owners understand that. To wit, I worked for a guy for a long time who felt like the mates that were on our boats were just, they were worthless. You find a kid, he can just
indentured
harness people.
servants.
Absolutely. I mean, without a doubt. And his captain, we don't hire mates, we hire captains. So you want to have a mate that wants to become a captain. So basically, you treat this kid like, and he would say, they're a dime a dozen. You can find any of them on the street. Well, us as captains knew that was emphatically not true. You create a bond with your mate. You're on this boat for 12 hours with this guy. Yeah, I mean, you can go the entire day once you have a great mate without even speaking to him. You're like a fine-tuned machine. And that's
dream teams.
What's that?
We call them dream teams.
That's right. That's right. And as the manager, I always had the best mates. I mean, I didn't want our team being disenfranchised either. So, but when I had my mate, he was my main guy. He was with me every single day. And the owner, he just didn't understand that. All he saw at the end of the day was how much he paid somebody to strap in a harness. But it was like, man, a great mate facilitated a better experience for the customers. It made the transition from boat to boat. Like it was able, I remember having a mate at the end of the day and he didn't feel like he did the best job selling pictures and making great tips because we ended up flying 130 people or something like that, which these are astronomical numbers in the world of parasail. And I said, listen, Miles, don't worry about it. First of all, we had a great day money-wise, but secondly, we got the job done. We got everyone flown. Everyone came back in one piece. Everyone was given high fives. And I could have never done that without the job that you did today. I really appreciate it. And again, it's like to look at see an employee as a bottom line. You put so much effort and so much time and money, frankly, into that person to just go, oh, well, who cares? He's disenfranchised. He's going to leave. We can just get another, I guess, line employee tomorrow that'll just replace him. Like, no, man, like I can't do another 40 rides with somebody like that. And that's $50 a person. That's $2,000. So that little whatever that you feel that you spent on that employee is like just costs us minimally in one day $2,000. So
yeah, it's huge. Yeah. The cost is substantial for turnover. I mean, and the energy spent in that turnover is huge. That labor cost, just the lack of customer service is going to happen from having an untrained employee, especially Correct. Since you have such a small window to make it happen. Getting that, you don't have a second chance in the seasonal market to turn over people. That's the kiss of death, in a sense. And as a side note, if you're in that mindset where that you think people are dispensable and that you could just turn and burn them like that, and you don't care about the cost, if you don't have a good hiring practice or a good people strategy, you got to have a good process and a good platform. I
think it's a test, like everything that you're talking about. And like, again, you work with a higher, you're working with a much, at a higher level, at the corporate level. And Greg, Greg's seen the whole thing. He went from being a solo entrepreneur to, Trip Shock, which is now like, operating at this high level. And I think with water sports specifically, because there are so many small mom and pop shops, that's why it's so hard for so many of them to actually scale, because it's this, I'm going to step over $1 to pick up a dime type of mentality at the end of the line. So it's like, well, what's the cost? What's the bottom line? Like, well, I'm not going to delegate that because I could just go do it myself till 3:00 in the morning. Well, it's, and a lot of these business owners, and I hear it on the marketing side all the time, because I do a little bit of de facto consultancy, just more or less helping people out when they ask me questions. And it's the pushback you get, even just from spending money on marketing, let alone spending money, like, oh no, man, I'm going to get this. I got this guy for $10 an hour. That's like their big, like, claim to fame. And it's like, look at him, dude. He got his pants on backwards. You know what I mean? Like, what did you get for $10 an hour, man? I could bring my 12-year-old in and do better for you than that. So it's being able to see I think the long game in this, and that's the difference between a business owner and an entrepreneur.
That's right. I mean, great, good, everybody has a financial strategy, right? You've got a marketing strategy. right? You've got a business strategy. When you got into business, Kevin, Greg, you guys had a business strategy, right? But very few businesses have a people strategy.
Yeah.
And that's where investing in search and selection and the onboarding process and the training, the coaching, the inspiring, it pays off in buckets. It really does. Just think about the time when you did have that dream team, how well that year went or that season went.
Oh,
and
man.
how much freed up your time to actually, and at the end of that dream team season, you're going, man, I could do this again. I could open another, probably another store, another city.
What would you say with operators that have to hire really quick? I mean, it's so for example, let's say that right before the season starts,
right,
you lose a couple key people and you have to get someone in there immediately and you don't have the time to do a comprehensive search. You're basically going to find that guy with the stained shirt off the street and say, hey, can you understand the situation? I mean, walk us through like what you would do in that situation.
Well, first I would, first I'd look in the mirror, honestly, and I'd ask myself how this happened. I mean, people don't leave jobs, they leave people. Okay. People don't leave jobs, they leave managers. That's critical. So, it's my job as a manager to adapt and meet the needs of my employees, not the other way around. And once you met those needs of your employees, then they give you what I call discretionary effort. It's that you get that baseline of, just that minimum requirements of the job that they do just barely to get by. Whether there's a big gap between maximum effort and what that minimum effort is. So that discretionary effort is what I call it. And then the manager or the owner is the number one factor influencing that. So I would look and say, why am I have to hire so quick? What's wrong with my process? What's wrong with my selection? What's wrong with my onboarding, my training? Why are they leaving me? I've got to fix that or I'm going to keep spinning my wheels. So that's the first thing I do. And then, so I'd look to see how I failed not to meet their needs. And then I look at myself. Listen, self-awareness is the number one predictor of a manager's success. Self-awareness, knowing how you interact with your employees and being self-aware. Young managers are not self-aware. They typically really rough around the edges with other people. They just don't know how to do it. So, and then if I have to hire really, really fast, hopefully I've got my search drip feed going and I'm going to go to my bench. I'm going to go to my bench of the people that are on a clipboard with their applications hanging there. And I know who I'm going to call first, second, and third. And if I don't have a bench, then I'm a fucking idiot. No,
so John,
finally somebody that swears on the show besides me. Thank Christ.
Chance finds the prepared mind. I read that in a fortune cookie. Think about it. Chance finds it. I'm not going to wait for somebody to walk in my door and just by chance. I've got to prepare.
So basically, what you're saying is, like you said before, always be hiring.
Always be hiring.
Always have jobs available because you need to go to your bench when you need to. I think that's an incredible thing.
Recruit. Always. Here's, I've been being in the restaurant business for a long time. I would always have business cards on me. And if any server ever give me really good service, I would say, hey, we're always hiring over at the Fish House. If you ever want to, if something happens over here, we loved your service. You were awesome. Just give me a call, text me, and we'll make it happen for you.
I'd like to talk about the predictive index program that you're involved with, and a little bit more about that, and then also like how you can maybe sort of like make that into like a manual process with like how you could like put that down on paper if you can't afford the program itself.
I think we need to talk about some of the pain points first before we get into that because. You mentioned the predictive index. Both Greg and I use it. We use it for all of our clients. It's basically about finding job fit is what it is. So, there's predictors of success. And our job as when we hire people and we bring them onto our teams and our organizations is to be able to predict their success. And what predictive index, hence the name predictive index, is it gives us a tool to create job fit between the natural basic traits of a person and the traits that are required of a job, and it overlays them. So if we can get job fit, number one reason people leave jobs as managers, and the second is poor job fit. In other words, they don't, you're going to put a customer service rep in front of your window to talk to customers, but they are introverted or lack extroversion. Well, you've made a big mistake, because Betty showed you that she was a people person in the interview, and you put her in front of there, and she's totally not a people person. But most people show us what they want to see in an interview. So having a tool, which we have today, there's assessment tools out there. Predictive Index is one of the best out there that I've ever seen, and it shows me job fit. And that's critical to success. It's a better predictor of success than experience. It's a better predictor of success than reference checks. Anything. It's 50. The stats they have, and they do test after test, survey after survey, is it's 54% more predictive of success of an employee if you give them some type of assessment or test before they get the job, and that's what this does. But we can get into that later. But I'm going to circle back to Greg's question, though. He said, what do you do in tough markets? When, you got and I think Destin, our market, is a tough market to hire for. You guys agree?
Oh, man, absolutely.
It's so hard. I mean, we've got a population of 20,000 people in Destin, and we've got, over 4.5 million visitors per year. That's a tough market to staff for. And I know people use the overseas markets for, do you use those, Greg?
No,
you don't. No. Kevin, do you use any foreign?
No.
I'm drawing a blank on, what do you call them?
J1.
K1s. Thank you. Yeah. I was going to say Q1s. K1s. Yeah.
No, the only thing I've looked into is possibly like a VA or something like that, and I'm not skeptical, but it's just like you got to find the right virtual assistant. That's the only. I mean, man, I have enough problems trying to understand, like or my customers have enough. Or my employees rather have enough trouble speaking English as their first language, let alone trying to find somebody as their second. I'm terrible. I'm horrible about my guys. I got one, and one of them is in my house right now. I called him last minute because one of my other guys, like, I'm trying to get this room done and my back room done. I have some guests coming, so I've been trying to get this last room in my home done. I give the kid 5 minutes heads up. Hey, can you come out, and it's not even his job description. Can you paint my room and lay some flooring for me? Yeah, I'll be there in 10 minutes, and just leaves it. So I'm really hard on my guys, but the 2 or 3 of them that come back every year are some of the best in the world. So if they do listen to this, they're like, damn it, Kevin's breaking our balls again.
Yeah, I mean, I had our director of operations for our restaurant group call, and we were talking about, because he's having people schedule interviews with him and not show up. After he's talked to them on the phone. So it's a tough market. So, one of the things that I told him, I said, when you get that call or you get that application or you get that email, immediately, as soon as you get it, call them. Pick up the phone and reach out and contact them. Just like that.
I am so sorry about that. I moved my call center, and I get like 1 or 2 calls a day, and I just didn't want to go down to our little office anymore, so I just put the phones in my main office.
Most people listening will believe that was like a soundbite or something, because it was perfectly timed.
That was. So yeah, get on the phone and call them, guys. That's important. I mean, if you wait, I guarantee if you wait, your chances exponentially go down because they're out there searching. It's so easy to get online and apply for a job. They're just going click, 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 and so you've got to reach out and talk to them.
John, when we hire in the middle of summer for our entry level positions, which is usually our call center, we try to cast an extremely wide net. Yep. So we use like ZipRecruiter, even though you pay, but they distribute it to all these different websites. We go to Craigslist and we do exactly what you say. If we need to hire them really fast, we don't mess around. We get them in. We make them take the predictive index test. We figure out their job fit. We're calling them. We're doing it really fast.
You got it.
We need to fast track them.
You got it.
Fast track them on. And, obviously some people might not have a few $100s to go and do the ZipRecruiter. But heck, if you were hiring really fast, that means that you're busy. You gotta just bite the bullet and spend the money. And don't go to, all the companies are going to Craigslist and Facebook. There's a lot of competition. Spend some money, cast the net as wide as you can. Because
Right.
we always found people in the middle of July. They're there. It's just, you got to look harder.
What's the other thing is I went back and I looked at the ads he was running, and whew, boring. Oh my God. So you've got to sell yourself. You've got to add some spark to that ad, and it's got to stand out. What's your value proposition? What's the benefits of working for your company? You've got to stand out. You've got to, and you've really got to, maybe it's a conversational type language instead of looking like a want ad. Now hiring. Really? No shit. Yeah.
Yeah, man. It's like it's tough. I think about that like all the time, man. Like when I'm crafting, like I have got no problem writing ad copy, man. Like I can sit down and just like I can crush like a press release. Or,
that's what needs to come through, though. In your ads, you're advertising for employment.
Yeah, man. Well, you just inspired me. I'm gonna do like the next ad I run. And I swear to God, I'm gonna do it, man. It's gonna be. I don't know. Greg might be too young. John, I think we're maybe closer to the same age. I mean, how old are you, John? 40?
Yeah.
40s? Yeah.
Well, 56.
56. So yeah, you're in your 40s basically. Same thing.
Yeah,
so then you definitely remember Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
Right.
Okay, I'm gonna do Spicoli and like with the I think it was like, hey buds, let's party. And he's got like the surfboard and the sunblock under his eyes.
Set of tools.
And I'm just going to be like, is this you? You're hired. I think you got to have fun with it too. Like you're exactly right. So you have to speak to that demographic, especially in our market. Like part of the appeal to what it is that we do is that there's fucking hot girls in bikinis on boats. Like you're out in the sun, you're riding jet skis. Like how much does it pay? I don't know. You tell me, because you're going to be paying me at the end of the week because this job's so fucking awesome, man. and it's really true. And it's like, you're right, man. Like I do. I like Destiny Water Adventures is now hiring for 2021 season. But it's like, no, man, you're 100% right. Like our culture is fun. It can be violent if you piss me off. It's like, hey, man.
Well, that's what your ads have got to say. We say I changed the last line in our ad for the restaurant group. I said, get in, work hard, no suits, no politics. You know
what questions I get asked a lot at Trip Shock is college recruiting. I get that question a lot. Do we recruit to colleges? Do you have any experience with that, John? For seasonal?
So when I was running, Bruce Crowell and I were running Harbor Walk in Emerald Grand. For those of your listeners who don't know what that is, Harbor Walk is about 120,000 square foot multi-use property with lots of water sports in it. We had over 70 jet skis, 40 pontoons, pirate ships, jet boats, and a big fishing fleet. And we would go to Florida State and we would do internships. So they would come and they would on a certain weekend, and probably 20, 30 of them would come to the Emerald Grand, and it's part of an internship, and it's a paid internship, and we got them, so it's part of their grade. So we would call down there to the and coordinate with the internship coordinator at the college and set the date, and they would then email them all, and we just had these great college kids show up, and we get to take our pick. We'd give them all PIs. And then we would have their PI and their resume in front of us, and they would, depending on the department they wanted to work, they would line up, and we would do mass interviews. So and it worked out well, and they're kind of locked in because their grade's dependent on it. Yeah,
those are some really good tips for hiring fast. I think it's a lot more than I was expecting, but really what I'm hearing is act fast. Cast a wide net, act fast.
You got that. I mean, that is critical. Acting fast. It really is. Study your competition. Find out what they're doing. See what the water sports company down the road is offering. What are their perks? What's the job? What's the value proposition look like for a new employee? What's their onboarding look like? How long have they had their employees? Do some research. Find out. You got to be competitive.
Well, Florida just switched up to and by 2026 we're gonna be paying these guys $15 an hour, man.
Yep.
Oh my God, dude. And I can't wait to hear, because I see some of these things like on the on some of the like the buy sell groups or the jobs on job groups, hiring, whatever, on Facebook, and some of these people have like zero marketable skills, like no education, and it's like somebody's hiring for an entry level position at like $13 an hour. And they're like, oh, $13 an hour, and already you can already see like the minimum wage is 15. Like, well, first of all, no, not yet. It's not, but it's like I can only imagine like like where you're just paying minimum wage, and then I got to show my age. Like, hey, kid, in my day, in 2020, minimum wage was $8 an hour, dude. So I mean, hell, let me know if you're hiring, buddy. I'll take that job.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable, but
that's crushing restaurants right now. We tried to fight that so hard within the Florida Restaurant Lodging Association, and it's going to roll right back up to now. All of our dining out experiences have just gone up 25%.
And tell me this then. So is that going to be for your wait staff too?
Yep.
$15 an hour plus tips?
Yeah, I mean, California, they're trying. There's no tipping in California as a result of this. The management manages it. It's a restaurant killer if you don't adapt, and so prices are going up, guys.
Yeah. Everybody would be pretty excited about their $15 an hour until they got to go get a $9 gallon of milk.
You got it. That's exactly right.
You know what? Most of the people that most of the people that are in those entry level jobs that they're going to be getting paid $15, they're the ones that are going out to eat probably the most. So it's so counterproductive. But John, let's go back. We talked about the PI software and how it worked and ways that, obviously the software is very expensive. Not many small businesses can afford it, but what are some things that they can do that can mimic the software that are more manual based that can still have an impact?
Yeah, I mean, you really, I mean, it's an assessment tool. So you've got to assess the job and you've got to assess the person. I hate to say this, but there's really not a lot. There's testing out there. Like Indeed has a series of questions you can ask them to hopefully narrow down a better predictor of success and if there's a better job fit. But unless you get down to the core of the natural basic self of a person, how much dominance they have, how much extroversion they have, how much patience or pace do they have? Are they detailed? Are they flexible? Are they precise? Because all of your jobs require a certain level of those things in reference to each other. So unless you really have an assessment tool, you're gonna be handicapped against those who do. Greg, like I helped you. I mean, I'll anyone who wants to call me, I'll if they've got a manager they're going to hire, I'll send them the assessment. We'll get on the phone call and I'll tell you whether or not it's a good fit for that particular job. And we did that several times, Greg, didn't we?
Yeah, sure did.
Yeah. I mean, we went through several of your people, and I said, yeah, when we walked through the assessment tool. And we're able to do that. But, a lot of companies, a lot of people, a lot of young managers just make a lot of hiring mistakes. So
I think our industry hires from and I'm sure it's again, with water sports, it's mostly line level. When you talk about people that are like salaried, and I mean, there's very few and far between like water sports managers. Again, this is mostly Gino Wickman, and we talked about it a little bit last time we spoke, John, but he wrote this book called Traction. And it was something I didn't bring up, but he talked about like partnerships. So it's like something like a business and it's a startup has like a 60% chance, higher success rate. Those started by partners that possess two different qualities. So, realistically, you do have to look depending on what levels in your group of management that you have. But for example, someone like myself, where my manager is almost going to be a de facto partner in my business. I mean, he's got the highest paid salaried worker, the only salaried worker, the highest paid worker in that relationship. And going back to say, if you actually do have a business partner, you have to have a visionary and then somebody that can implement. Generally, and I'm sure PI would probably back up this assertion as well, but that you have I am great at doing big picture stuff. Like I am great at getting in the weeds on the stuff that I love, implementing our marketing strategies. I'm a very creative type person. Now, when you tell me like, hey, Kevin, you need to go out and, pull off every engine and pull apart all these parts. I'm like, oh man, that sounds terrible. So like,
Right.
I'm really bad at implementing. So
the job of the interview process is to narrow down those traits of that person, right? And so without an assessment tool, it's difficult, but there are ways to do it. I mean, we can talk about a lot of the mistakes that I've made over the years. And I mean, I've interviewed and hired thousands of people, literally. And, one of the biggest mistakes, some of the basic ones, warm body. Putting a warm body in there. I mean, the cost of putting a warm body in a seasonal market, it can be devastating. It's like flipping a coin.
Luckily for us, I mean, I would put Tom through the predictive index, but this guy sold his house and moved down here. And I mean, he already had a good job and took a pay cut to be a part of something that he felt inspired by. And this is the first hire that I'm doing at this level. So I'm pretty excited about it. I don't know what more of a test that you could possibly do than that. Like, I'm selling my house and relocating to another state that I've never been to help grow this thing. Cause I'm so excited about your ideas. Like, it feels awesome. Like a slam dunk. So.
Yeah. There's a great study at Harvard that said that your job experience and you're looking at somebody's past experience is about a 7% predictor of success. You know what the number one predictor of success is? Attitude.
Yeah.
Attitude. 93% predictor of success is a good attitude toward work, being open for change. And it's not, and it's looking, not only looking for, that drive and vision in somebody, like, selling his house, but it's, it's the energy. It's so more important than a shiny resume.
What I find really helpful in our companies is objectiveness. And also people that are willing to talk things out and negotiate fairly. Mm-hmm. Like those are just so important. And that really goes back to attitude. There's people that I'm not going to do anything other than this way. Or if you are going to be that way, you better have a damn good reason why. Arbitrary notions do not have any place in companies unless you're the top dog, you're the visionary. So because there's some level of risk and gut that make the best entrepreneurs, but in an organization you're not going to win the hearts and minds of your employees by constantly being subjective, because they're going to want to have a say in things too. And if it's always your way or the highway, you build a bad culture.
Terrible culture. You're not managing to the needs of your employees. So that's critical.
And that kind of goes into our discussion about, what do we do to inspire, seasonal workers, right? They're going to leave. They got to go back to college, or they're going to lose their hours. Why inspire them? Why invest in inspiring them?
Oh my God.
Bring them back.
Well, but they're going to give you discretional effort. I can't say that enough. And it's that, you've always said you've had that employee that just gets by, right? Just does enough so he doesn't get fired, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. But the inspire part of it, that when you're actually have job fit, think about a job you've had where it fit well. You don't go home tired. You're energized at the end of the day. You still feel good. They're going to give you that and with your customers, with the other employees, with you as their manager. They're going to give you that discretionary effort. So that's why you inspire. But how do you do it? Well, seasonally, we just try and keep it fun. I mean, seriously, keep it fun. Share wins. Share success stories.
When you hire poor workers, a lot of times you think of, well, it's that worker's the problem. And, that's it. But really, that worker is a bad worker, is a toxic worker that infiltrates your entire company. Then your good employees are upset at you, the management, because you are not taking action. So this bad employee causes so much grief. It causes lost productivity. It kills your culture. I mean, they can destroy your company.
Here's how it happens, Greg. So you have three types of employees. You have low performers, middle performers, and high performers. Okay. So when you have a low performer, what does it do to the middle performer? It pulls them to their level, because what you permit, you promote. What does it do to what do high performers do when there's a culture of low performance? They leave. So you're right. You're absolutely right. They are toxic. They will pull down your middle performers and they will cause your high performers to leave.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We had, I had a guy, and we just worked together, but the management trusted my position, and I had actually moved up ahead of him as far as like becoming a manager and the head captain of our organization. But he was a great captain. He could get the rides done, but he absolutely had the worst attitude. And it brought down my mates after flying with him or 2 days of being with him. They come in and they were just like, and historically good mates, happy, excited to be there. And they come back and they had mirrored that attitude. And when he had left to go pursue something else, and then he wanted to come back, he was absolutely toxic. Like he came in and he put it on everybody. He badmouthed the customers. He badmouthed the ownership. He badmouthed the job. It never stopped. And so when it came down to management and my upper management, myself, we were both vehemently against the owner. Said and I said, brother, I love you, but you're a cancer. It's like the only reason you're coming back is because you realize how easy the job was and how much money you were making. And that's the only quality like that you care about. But other than that, you're making everybody hate their life. And they it's not even that they dislike you. You're just rubbing off on them. And that can be so pervasive. So that, as anecdotally speaking, yeah, it's absolutely correct.
It is. Yeah. So, Greg, back to your question about, how do you inspire seasonal workers? This temporary, this low pay type worker that, seems uninspirable. One of the things that we do at the restaurant, we have, of course, a lot of line level employees at restaurants, and we do a 30, 60-day conversation with them. We actually schedule them in. And we say, okay, Sally, at 2:00 on Thursday, I'd like to sit down with you for 30 minutes and have a conversation. It's not a job review. It's not a performance review. It's not a wage review. It's simply a conversation. We ask them just five questions. And those 5 questions are proven to reduce turnover. Greg, I think we've talked about this, and you have something similar. Some of the questions that we ask them, the same 5. We ask them the 5 at 30 days and 5 in 60 days. And we have the same conversation. We say, how do we compare with what we said we'd be like? Really important, because we sold them sunshine. We told them what the job, how good it is, how awesome it is to work for us. Well, we're going to do a 30-day check and make sure what we said it was going to be like, and it didn't meet their expectations. Great question. Tell me what you like. What's going well? Fantastic. It'll open up a series of conversations that are in the positive. Great question to ask at a quick conversation. Which employees have been helpful to you? Who do we need to recognize? That's a twofer right there, because what you're doing is they're managing up, and they're able to, and then you're able to go recognize that person for helping out your new employee during their onboarding. Real powerful. And say, hey, I noticed you came from Billy Bob's Watersports. Are there any things that they did over there that might be helpful to us over here? Asking for their input. Inclusion is huge. Being part of that team, being the millennials really want to know that they're making a difference. Number one for millennial retention. If you've ever done any reading or listened to any podcasts on millennials. So, I noticed you came from ABC. Is there anything they do over there that we should be doing? And then the last question, is there any reason you would think of leaving us? Get right to the heart of it. And boy, that really is a great set of questions. Ask those questions and then ask them again in 60 or 90 days, and retention goes up, turnover goes down, and it's so it's just little things like that can really help.
Well, hey, John, we're kind of getting to time, and I have one question for you.
Uh-oh.
We like to ask our interviewers what their most awkward moment is, and we're going to stay on this topic of HR. I want you to take a moment to think of your awkward hiring moment and share that with us.
Awkward hiring moment? All right. So I was, one of the most awkward moments was at the beginning of this year. Or at last Christmas, I gave out 2020 planners to everybody. That was a real joke.
Pretty good.
We were hiring. When I was in my 20s, we were hiring for the largest nightclub in Washington, D.C. I was actually the general manager of this club. The same people that designed Studio 54 in the area designed this club, and it was So I got hired as about 25, 26 years old, and we're doing like these group interviews, and we were hiring for security at the time. And on this guy's, you know how you have more skills a little on their application. You know what else? You know, additional skills you've got. This guy actually wrote in his thing. You can rip out a man's heart from his chest, you know, while it's still beating.
Oh my God! Did you hire him on the spot? I would have. I'd have been like, oh my God.
I say is like, you know, what was that Stripes movie with Francis? Settle down, Francis.
Oh my God.
That's incredible. I would have hired that guy, man. They're like fucking awesome. Hell yeah, dude.
The shit people will write on the, you know.
I just ripped his heart out of his chest while it was still beating. Oh my God, that's good. That's good.
That is really good. I'm gonna use that for the teaser of the show. God, that is so funny. All right, John. Well, thanks for coming on the show. This was very colorful as always. We do have the best interviews, I think. But how can people learn more about you and PI? And
just send me a text. Shoot me a text.
Okay.
850-585-4051. Real simple.
Great.
And anyone who does, I'll just bill Greg and Kevin. So you guys go.
Perfect. Yeah. You start with Greg, buddy.
And John, you're in our Facebook group too. The tour.
I did. I just joined.
Okay, cool. All right. Well, people can mention you and we can get on the conversation. I'm sure when we add the episode, we'll be able to share a lot of different stories. I think that's the first thread that we have to have is your worst hiring stories. I don't know if there's any legal ramifications to that, but I guess we don't use names, then it's all good, right? But
right, we'll change it.
Great.
We'll protect you.
But that would be an awesome thread.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I'm sure the guy that came to Destiny for a job that said he was gonna be 10 minutes late every day because he had to go to a fucking methadone clinic, probably not gonna be hiring counsel anytime soon.
Right. I think that was the top stories right there.
Yeah. Oh man. Well, yeah, it was great meeting you, John, and man, great episode, and it's awesome always talking to you. I do feel at the end of this show that a bill probably wouldn't be the worst idea because I sure as hell learned. I learned a lot, man. But just so you know, your payment will be next to that guy's paycheck at the bottom.
Perfect.
Of the water.
And with that said, folks, thanks for listening. Thanks for tuning in, and keep it awkward.
You've been listening to the Awkward Watersport Guys podcast. If you're in the water sport industry, this is the podcast that brings the business perspective to parasailing, jet and ski boat rentals, sailing, snorkeling, and everything else. We hope you've gotten some useful and practical information from this show. Be sure to sign up to our email list at watersportpodcast.com and subscribe in your favorite podcast app. We'll see you next time, and thanks for listening.